Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
My first question is, there's a theory going around that the Earth has no core of substance. It's hollow.
It is not.
Okay, thank you.
However, many people, when they explore certain areas on the Earth, or sometimes actually in the Earth, in tunnels and caves, will come across a portal that leads them into another dimension. And being in that dimension, they think they're still inside the physical Earth when they've actually shifted to another reality altogether. And that's what they're calling the hollow Earth. They think it's actually physically inside your planet, and it's not. It's another dimension of experience altogether. But they don't even know that they've crossed that dimensional line.
Okay, thank you.
Make sense?
Yes.
All right.
What can you tell me about the history of how the humanoid beings came to Earth and how we became ourselves?
All right. Well, many of you perhaps are familiar with some of the ancient stories referred to as the extraterrestrial race of the Anu. Yes? Or what you call the Anunnaki. Yes?
Yes.
Well, in coming to your planet many hundreds of thousands of years ago, they took upon themselves the idea of genetic experimentation with the naturally evolved hominid species that already existed on your planet, that evolved naturally on your world.
The apes.
You call this Homo habilis.
Okay.
And they added their own extraterrestrial genetics to it to allow for the creation of Homo sapien. Now, if they had not done that, Homo habilis would have continued in its natural evolution. And they didn't do it to every single branch, which is why the natural evolved hominid on your planet actually did evolve alongside you. It's called Sasquatch. So if they had not introduced their genetic material into the idea of Homo sapien, you would actually all be Sasquatch today.
Okay, but since the Anunnaki, there have been many other species that have come.
There have been a few, yes.
Such as?
Well, such as those beings you call the Greys, which are actually not exactly alien beings. They are mutated humans from a parallel Earth that destroyed itself, that had to tunnel into your and other realities where viable human DNA allows them to recreate their civilization and create the hybrids of which our civilization is one group. This is why we engage with all of you, because we are literally genetically family. And we are assisting you with this information to give you an opportunity to not go down the same path that destroyed their version of Earth.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes. And how did the Incas cut those stones and move them and shape them in such perfect ways?
There are a variety of technologies that have been lost to your civilization. A lot of it has to do with sound frequencies. A lot of it has to do with understanding certain kinds of plant chemistries that can actually soften rock.
Okay.
There are many different things that have been lost to your knowledge.
Did it have to do with extraterrestrial assistance?
In certain cases, yes, but not necessarily as often as you think. Many of the ancient races also had the ability to do what you call out-of-body travel, and thus they learned things on higher dimensions and simply brought the knowledge back and applied it. You can do this too, and many of you do. Does that help?
Yes. And one more.
Yes.
Can you give us any predictions, any information about the future of ascension for humanity in the near future?
All right. Well, first and foremost, again, another caveat, another explanation of the idea of prediction. There's no such thing as a prediction of the future. A prediction is a sensing of the energy that exists at the moment the prediction is made. Now, if that energy has momentum behind it, has a lot of inertia behind it, and is unlikely to change, then it can perhaps manifest or come to pass. But if the energy changes, then the prediction is rendered obsolete. And in fact, sometimes hearing a prediction, which is a sensing of the energy that exists at that moment, that seems most probable, most likely, hearing the prediction can actually change the energy. Because now you know what the probability is, and if you don't prefer that outcome, you can actually change it and render the prediction obsolete.
Okay.
Because you have many probable parallel reality futures to pick from. Some of them have a lot of momentum behind them because your collective consciousness has agreed that this is the direction you will go in general. You definitely are heading in the direction and are in the process of ascending which again is just raising your frequency to be more in alignment with your true self, which is why it's so important to act on your highest excitement, because that's what it does for you. And if you were not ascending, it is very improbable we would be having these conversations. So we, in a sense, are a marker that your frequency is shifting, because now it's probable that you can have conversations with beings from other dimensions, other realms, other realities. This is becoming more natural in your society. And it can continue if that's the path you have set yourself on. In terms of the idea of open extraterrestrial contact, the most likely probability for this to begin and being representative of having arrived at an ascension point that is sufficient for open contact to occur, as we read the energy now, is most likely between your years of 2025 and 2033. Beyond that, absolutely no later than 2050 as we read the energy now. You can accelerate it, you can stretch it out. Each person also may experience this in a slightly different way, because each and every one of you is a different reality. You're just agreeing to create what appears to be a similar reality, but it's not the same one. As many people are here, that's how many realities are actually here. So the idea also is to remember that you actually never change the earth that you're on. You change yourself and you shift to another version, another parallel reality version of Earth that is already more reflective of the change you've made within yourself. That's how it works. You never change the Earth you're on. That Earth still exists. The Earth that you were on 5 minutes ago still exists somewhere else. And you're not on it anymore. You're not focused on it anymore as this you. A version of you is still there perhaps, but not this version. You're now on a different Earth because you're a different person, moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. You're constantly shifting through billions of parallel realities with your consciousness every second. That's what creates the experience you call time. Time is a side effect of your consciousness shifting through different frames of parallel realities, creating the continuity illusion of time and space. Just like the frames on a film strip that you project on a screen to create the illusion of movement in a movie. Each frame is its own reality and has absolutely no movement, no experience whatsoever in it. But when you shine your consciousness through that frame and another and another and another and another, like a projector light, you then are shifting billions of times a second to create an illusion of change and movement in space and time, and that's how you experience the idea of discovery and growth. But it's your consciousness experience.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes. And would you say that by this time, between 2025 and 2033, the majority of the Western world, for example, would be consciously aware of the reality of our spiritual nature and our...
No, not necessarily, but enough of you will. Please understand, it takes far fewer people in alignment with their true self to outweigh all the people not in alignment, because being not in alignment is not a cohesive effect. It takes very few people being in alignment to create the idea of a collective momentum that overpowers or outweighs the idea of everyone acting separately. Does that make sense? So it doesn't require that the majority of your population is aligned that way in order for the effect to be experienced by those people. The other people that don't wish to experience that will shift to a parallel Earth where they don't experience that. You understand?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. Will that do?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
So you touched on a lot of themes that my question's about, and over the last decade, I've died and left my body, and I was struck by lightning.
Oh, all right. How exciting.
And for a while, it was really confusing because I started to channel different people's repressed emotions, and even started to connect to this idea that you're talking about, where these parallel realities. So it's sort of like connecting to the oversoul in a number of different pieces. And I started seeing how certain alignments could exist on our planet and locally and in people's sort of ideology.
Yes.
And because I've witnessed this, I feel somewhat responsible for the witnessing of this.
That's all
possible
right,
reality.
but just please remember, the definition of responsibility is simply the ability to respond.
Okay.
That's all.
Right. And I guess in some of the responses, I see some people in pain or in turmoil.
Yes.
And to me, being able to have this extra sense of...
Yes.
Yeah, just this extra sense, I guess. I don't even know what to really call it. Because I feel like sometimes I'm connecting to the sensation at the foundation of sense perception.
It gives you an opportunity to understand their perspective so that you can be of assistance to them when and where they choose to allow you to assist. Yes.
Right. And so what I'm trying to understand is the discernment between these different parallel dimensions, because sometimes it's quite conflicting, because I feel like there's a aspect that's sort of like help and I need an assistance, and this other aspect that's sort of fighting against the assistance. And so sometimes I feel like, am I just not supposed to do anything? Should I just keep my mouth shut?
No. Let the synchronicity of your life show you where you can be of assistance by sharing whatever it is you are moved through your excitement to share. But be aware that some people may still, at a certain point, as we said earlier in this conversation, resist any additional sharing or information or assistance. When you reach that point, back off.
Right.
Give them their due. Let them show you what path they're on, because they may need to sit within whatever they're experiencing for a while. You can never be the determiner of how they need to go through their process. But you can know that if synchronicity has brought you into their lives and them into your life, that there is some reason for it, and you can simply give whatever it is you are able to give as a sharing, as an assistance, as a help, but not beyond the point where you start receiving reflections that they no longer request it.
Right.
It's that simple. Mm-hmm. Does that help?
That does.
Keep it simple, keep it clear. There is no need to be confused about it.
Right. And
just
then
see what's going on in the reality, see what's going on in them. There's no reason to push, there's no reason to force. Remember, everyone is an eternal, indestructible being. What's your hurry?
Right.
Yes?
So I feel like one of the things I've experienced in this is that we kind of inhabit our own limitations.
Of course.
And there's a greater aspect, I think, maybe of probably of all of us, where we are
of course
these eternal beings, and it seems like the I sort of say death is a ritual that most believe in, so it occurs.
All right. Well, may I let you in on a little secret?
Yeah, please.
Oh, all right. Just you, though, no one else.
Okay. Plug your
Kidding. Here's the truth.
Uh-huh.
All of you, right now, are still in spirit. Mm-hmm. That's your natural state. You're dreaming that you're not. But you're in spirit having this dream of physical reality. But you're still in spirit. You never leave spirit. Never. It's not possible. You're just dreaming that you have.
So in that sense, is it possible for us to create a dream where we stop going through cycles of birth and death and pain and pleasure? And
yes.
Okay.
And that's called waking up.
Right.
Into more of yourself. It doesn't mean you won't still have challenges, but that doesn't have to include the idea of suffering. That's an outmoded idea. Yes? Now's the time for you to let go of the need to have to suffer in order to deserve freedom. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. You deserve it anyway, by your nature. So by all means, challenge yourselves, but that's exciting, that's fun. You don't need to suffer in order to do it. You can let go of that outmoded definition. Yes?
So what would you say is maybe a fundamental thing that all of us could do to be less limited?
I already have told you. The formula is as simple as 1, 2, 3. Act every moment that you can on the thing that contains more excitement than anything else. Do it to the best you are able to do it within the context of the parameters of your society. And do it with absolutely zero, and I mean zero, insistence or assumption as to what the outcome has to look like. Even the idea of assuming that what excites you has to come to fruition is an expectation you need to drop. Because many times the thing that excites you, the form the excitement comes in, doesn't mean that that thing has to come to fruition. It may only be exciting you just to get you to move into a different state of being, and then the thing that you really need to do is more easily presented to you. So never assume that the thing that excites you has to be the thing that comes to fruition. It might, but you don't know that. So never assume that you know that, because you don't know that. There might actually be something better to come along, and very often there is. When you understand that your visualization of what you believe to be the ideal outcome is actually a limitation on what could happen, you will start to drop the need for that outcome to happen in the way your physical mind has seen it. By all means, you can use visualization as a symbol of the energy state of the ideal outcome. Seeing an ideal outcome in your mind's eye gets you excited about the probability that that might happen. But don't become insistent that it must happen the way your physical mind sees it. Just maintain the state of excitement it put you in and drop the picture utterly. When you surrender the picture, you are surrendering to the higher mind, to all that is, to source, and you're allowing it to then fill the space with the manifestation that is actually representative of the state of being that the visualization put you in.
So the visualization is a tool.
It's a tool, it's a symbol, it's a representation, and quite often is actually far more limited than what your higher mind could actually bring you, which might be far, far grander. So don't limit yourself by assuming that the tool is the end-all, be-all. It's just a tool to get you in the proper state to allow what really needs to happen to happen. Make sense?
Total.
Does this help?
Yes.
Why, thank you.
Thank you.